It's another indie community member profile, and today I'm talking to Beverly Moss. Hello, Beverly.
Hello, Andrew.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you, and who is Beverly?
Beverly's a very happily semi-retired lady. I'm 64 now, and I'm having more fun at 64 than I certainly had, I would say, in my 30s and 40s. I've got 3 grown-up sons and 1 lovely grandson. But I still don't want to give up and become the lady in twin set and pearls that I would have seen my grandmothers become at this age.
So you're a real indie. What do you actually do then?
I'm a complementary therapist.
Right.
I started off years ago as a cordon bleu cook, went through restaurant training, then worked for NDPS, which was the computer section of what was then the post office and became British Telecom. But we did all the commercial projects. So for years I was a systems analyst for them. But I always hankered to go back to something medical. That was always my interest. And so when my youngest son went to nursery school, I started to train as an aromatherapist. Mm-hmm. I was a very practical aromatherapist. I knew how the oils worked because my background was sciences. And then I started to realize, working with people's bodies, that there was something else underneath. It wasn't just a chemical reaction. It wasn't just a tight muscle. And that took me into the field of energy medicine through initially Reiki. Over the years, I've studied kinesiology, and I do a particular form of behavioral kinesiology. So I'm looking at the mind, body, spirit part of things. If you have a food allergy, why is your body seeing that food as a problem? Not let's tell you which food you can't eat. Let's work out, where did that distressing memory go in that linked to that particular food, that means that when every time you eat a banana, you feel stressed. Particularly in the era of school dinners, when we had to eat everything we were given, and we often ate in silence. That's a great one for food allergies.
Oh gosh, tell me about that semolina I had to eat.
Oh God, yes, gristly mince. But also I've had clients where we've been looking at things like compulsive eating, and it's actually taken us back through what we would call a generational block. So I've gone back to them having, say, a relative who was in a concentration camp or a soldier in Burma.
Wow.
It's often gone back to a time when there wasn't enough food. And so the pattern that's come through in the person that I'm sitting with is, if I have food around me, I must eat it. That's my survival. So I find the mind absolutely fascinating. So over the last probably 20, 25 years, I've gone from working more on the physical to working more with the mind and the connections with the mind. Because if I can release the pattern from somebody who's worried that their cancer is going to return, mm-hmm. and I can take that fear away, they have a better quality of life. If the cancer returns, okay, it returns. But if in the 5-10 years in between, they've had a really good quality of life, that to me is the best thing that I can do for them.
You have lived, it sounds a fantastic career, because cordon bleu chef, systems analyst, yep. And now in this whole world in your mid-60s of energy medicine. When did you know that this was going to be the place you were going to sort of end up, I guess?
I think I probably drove my poor parents mad, because my father, even when I had my first child, was still saying, "Are you sure you don't want to go to university now?" They always wanted me to be an accountant, and I knew that wasn't my path. I think I got more and more comfortable in working with people, working with bodies, listening to what the body can tell you. And the more I went into that, the closer I got to, whether you call it people's higher intelligence, inner wisdom, spirit guides. It took me into a field where, as my old Pilates teacher introduced me as, "This is Bev, she talks to dead people." But if those dead people are your loved ones who have a real insight into why you're suffering in this way, then I'm quite happy for them to pop in and out of my treatment room. And it's taken me into fields that I never thought I would go into. I've done a lot of courses at the College of Psychic Studies. Healing is still my passion. I don't want to be a platform medium, but it's very useful to actually hear a voice from wherever you think it comes from that's saying, just check out that left knee, just ask them about, which is what my team in Spirit will tend to do. And I became hooked. Because the more I know about this world and the more information I've gathered and courses I've done, the more I know there is to know. And I find that the body is just amazing. I can't believe that we can have a whole field of medicine which acknowledges that the mind can make you ill, psychosomatic disease, and won't accept that if the mind is powerful enough to make you ill, then your mind has the power to also help you to heal. Not necessarily to cure, but to heal and to have a better quality of life. So it's something that I can't see me ever actually giving up. You know, semi-retire, yes, but this is part of my world and I would be so bored without it. I have missed my clients so much over lockdown.
So changing a little bit away from what you're doing now and just asking you some questions about you, you know, as you move forward and even now, what is it that defines success for you? What really sort of ticks the box?
Oh, I love it when somebody rings me up out of the blue and says, a classic I get quite regularly is I get people ring me up and go, I'm an air stewardess or I'm a pilot and I was on a flight with Lisa the other day and Lisa said, I must come and see you. I probably haven't treated Lisa for 15 years. She works for BA. I did some kinesiology with her. And still, 15 years on, people are coming back and going, Lisa sent me. Because I know that I helped Lisa in a way that she wants to pass on that help to somebody else. So whilst I often think, you know, if I was a surgeon, I'd be earning, you know, hundreds of pounds more than I do now. But nothing could give me that same feel-good factor as somebody saying, oh, you treated my son when he was 5. He wants to come back. He's 18 now. I've got one lady who's actually booked a holiday for a week in May, not far down the coast from here, so that her daughter, who's 18 and is an amazing, I say little girl, she was a little girl when I saw her. She's Down syndrome, but she's got her first real job now. She's become a civil servant. She has passed her driving test. And over the years, whenever she's needed to come and see me, she tells her mum and she comes and sees me. To me, she's one of my successes in that we resonated in a way that she could talk to me about things and release the fears and the struggles that she's had to cope in a world that actually she's not typical in that world. And I love people who are not eccentrics, but people that don't fit into a box.
You mean a little bit like an indie, perhaps?
Like an indie, but also like a dyslexic child in a classroom. Like an autistic child, where the school system is not designed for somebody whose mind works in a slightly different way. They're my people. They're the ones that I know I can help, and I can help them develop strategies. They're
your tribe.
They're my tribe, yeah. Because years ago, you know, if I picked up a Reiki book, it would be on the occult section of the bookshelf.
Yes.
Now, complementary therapy, but you know
how things have changed. So,
yeah.
So how do you spend a typical day? What do you do?
Well, let's go back to pre-lockdown and pre-me moving house. My typical day could start off often with a client at 8 o'clock in the morning. Several of my distance clients who can't get to me, I would start and do them a treatment first thing in the morning. So they would either have sent me an email or we'd have had a chat. I would have a list of goals they want to change, statements that we want to work on. And I would do them a session, record the salient points and send them an MP3. That works better for me because I can tune into their energy field without being distracted by them saying, oh, Bev, did you see such and such on the television the other day? And then send it to them. And then if we need to, we have a chat, or they go, yep, do you know, I knew exactly that you were working on me at 8:10 because I felt something go through, or you were in my mind. Then I could have somebody in who has got long-term back problems. And you'll be working as much on the physical and the back, but also on the fear of the pain. So trying to help them take those chances, not limit themselves because they think the pain may kick in. Get them counting the days that are pain-free. So get them counting their comfy days, not, I only had, you know, one pain-free day this week. Well, that's brilliant. You know, let's go for working now and your body releasing the pain. So you have 2 pain-free days next week. Then I could have an autistic child. I could have somebody with infertility problems, because a lot of infertility I've found over the years is actually from up here. A friend of mine is an acupuncturist who works with what's called the Zeta West network. So she will do all the herbs and the fertility testing and that sort of thing. But we've had a good relationship over the years in that she will suddenly go, Bev, this is beyond what I would do on the mind. I can remember years ago having a lady who came to me in her 40s, desperately wanted to have a child. But when I talked to her, she had had an operation on her knee about 5 years before. During that operation, her heart stopped. The surgeon said to her, you will have to be really careful if you ever get pregnant. Your heart could stop again in labour. So her body went, it's not safe for me to get pregnant. As soon as we work through, we call it an age recession, we go back, talk to the body at that time, release that pattern, there was no problem. She got pregnant. But her body thought it was keeping her safe by going, no, no, we won't go near that. Let's not put ourselves in danger. And then I could have somebody with reflexology who we're working through maybe a pregnancy, or a lot of my MS and ME clients would start as reflexology clients. So my day, I can have one person in my room for an hour. And I always say to people, book a spell of time with me. And when you're here, we'll decide what we're going to do, because we could be doing some EFT tapping to release an emotional pattern. We could be working on a tight muscle. We could be looking at the digestive system. So I feel that my business, I think, is the live television of the therapy world. If you go for a classic reflexology, massage, whatever, you know where you start, you know where you finish. You pretty much follow the same pathway. You step through my door for something like behavioural kinesiology or healing, and I have no idea what your body is going to say it needs until we start to work. And that can be different with the same person from session to session. So it keeps me on my toes. And I like murder mysteries, and this is the same thing. I'm piecing together bits of the jigsaw at the same time as design.
It's sort of the Cluedo of sort of health, really, just trying to work out. It's
boring.
No, you must. I really want to ask, what's the most important skill that you've kind of developed to help you with all of this?
I think there's probably 2, Andrew. There's listening. And by that, I mean listening to what's not being said as much as what is being said. And there's the developing and the fine-tuning, the energy sensitivity to work with somebody, so that I can read from their body what's going on. I can get information from the body, and that can be about situations that have happened. It can be about what I'm feeling under my fingers, the texture of a tissue, the sense of energy moving down a nerve, or even feeling as I hold maybe somebody's ankles that one leg feels 2 inches longer than the other. but physically isn't. So I suppose in that way, I'm listening to the body in the same way I'm listening. But I needed those years of developing that sensitivity and trusting that sensitivity to be able to come out with weird and wacky statements like, you know, what's going on in this left knee? It seems to link into something to do with your dad. And I found the more I trust just letting those statements come through, the more something gives me to say.
This is so interesting. Asking you kind of the flip to this, though, the greatest skill. I mean, what's been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome? I'm a shy person. So I am very comfortable now in my treatment room, but even with the new clients, those first 10-15 minutes, my heart will be thumping, and then I'm settling into it because I'm learning about the body. I'm meeting this person. So it's confidence. There will still be times, even after 25 years, when I suddenly, you know, in the middle of a treatment, listen to what I'm saying and I think, my God, am I making all this up? And as soon as I think that, the person on the couch is going to go, you've got me exactly. And I know that's my confirmation from spirit, from, you know, knowledge to go, no, you're not making all this up. And the fascinating thing is I can still think that when the person's not in the room with me. And I will still get an email back going, I can't tell you what that session did. So I'm still being given that confirmation. So I believe that, you know, those up there who know where we're meant to be and what we're meant to be doing are going, you're not giving up on this yet, Bev, because we've still got plenty of work for you to do. When they haven't. One last question. You know, here you are, you know, mid-60s, indie, you know, what has been the greatest reward you've got out of this sort of, all the choices you've made to actually get to this point?
It sounds very trite to say, but it's knowing that you actually have made a difference to something, that you've been of use to somebody. I do think we've forgotten how important it is to give back to somebody. And okay, this is my work, but I think most of my clients would say to you, she doesn't clock watch. You know, she's always there at the end of the phone. So it might be my work, but I'm not only putting in effectively that 9 till 5. It's my way of life. I still have students that I trained 20 odd years ago who will still get in touch with me and ask me about particular clients and what would I do. You know, they're having a tough time. So I've built, in a way, almost like an indie family. I have a family of my clients, my students, and I love that. I love the fact they're still in touch. And if somebody says to me, oh, you know, I went to a Reiki master the other day and they were absolutely brilliant. And if it's one of mine, I'm like a mother hen with a chick going, oh, I train them. It's that ongoing passing on the knowledge, you know.
Beverly, it's been really interesting. Thank you for just taking a bit of time out to chat to me and allowing me to share this with the indie community. And I hope people will have a conversation with you and you know, vice versa.
Well, if I help anyone, you know, I'm always happy to have an informal chat.